Well, hello friends. So it's Sunday, I'm at school, and it's time for your first, probably first of many, little British history videos with Fred. Now, I'm going to be really, really clear. I'm an English teacher. I was a history minor, but these are going to be like superficial, pretty shallow, pretty rough histories that I give you, because I'm not expecting you guys to be experts on British history as we go through this class. But there's going to be history that you're going to have. I'm going to try to give it to you in little video chunks as opposed to making you read and dig a bunch of this stuff up, because I just want you to kind of get the big picture. So we're starting with the Anglo-Saxons, because they're kind of where English literature starts in the way that we know it. Like, our first major work of English literature is the poem Beowulf, which we'll be reading starting, let's see what my calendar says, on whatever day that is, Thursday. And that's our first big one that we say, this is where English literature starts. But we're not going to start there. We're going to start with some poetry, because I think it's a good way to kind of get the vibe of this period in smaller chunks. Not that Beowulf isn't poetry, but these are shorter poems, and Beowulf it's long. Okay, we're not going to read all of it, so anyway. But let's talk about these Anglo-Saxons, but we can't start with them. We got to go way back. So a long time ago, like in the BC era, like way back in like the Neolithic period, like it's the new Stone Age. This is like 3,000 to 1,000 BC. It's a long time ago. Britain is largely populated by the Celts. These are a pagan tribe. There are plenty of people who know a lot about them. There's lots of weird theories about them, but they have agriculture. They have stone tools. They build these really big, mysterious mounds. Like if you go to England and Ireland and Scotland, you'll see stone circles. You'll see big earthen mounds that sometimes have burial sites inside them. These are the guys that built these Celtic tribes. They come from, I think there's also people that were before the Celts that might have built the mounds. But anyway, you got Celts, they come from Europe, they go across, they come to England, they do the stone circle thing, Stonehenge, that kind of stuff. That's old Britain, okay? Probably some human sacrifice, lots of awareness of like the longest and shortest days of the year. Like they still go to Stonehenge on midsummer because the sun shines in a particular way. In Ireland, there is a huge burial mound called Newgrange, and on the summer solstice, the sun literally shines through this little door and illuminates the inside of this chamber. So they did this. So that's them. Okay, old. Then, around 55 BC, right, Romans come. Caesar, that Caesar, like Caesar, Julius Caesar, that Caesar, et brute, like he gets killed, right? That Caesar comes to England, brings 2 legions, fight. He's like, and leaves. Because, well, I imagine that the Celts that were there were pretty scary. Some rumors that I've heard that may or may not be true. They fought naked. They like painted their faces blue. They were like wild. And like Rome is like civilized Rome. We are Romans. We march in order. Blah, they're like that. And then these dudes are like wild animals, like with things on fire and arrows and these massive, like crazy people. They come back the next summer. And they do a little bit better, and they negotiate a peace with the British tribes, and everything's cool for a while. Some people think that Caesar was really scared. There are some people, especially like these like kind of weird, like super pro-British people, that think that Caesar was really scared of the Celts, like really scared of what he saw and was like, yeah, will you trade with us? Cool, we're going to go back to the civilized world because you guys are nuts. But for whatever reason, they worked out a trade deal. They worked out a deal to where the British tribes would pay tribute. That's money. They also wanted things like, I think there were good minerals there, like tin and silver, that they wanted to trade. So they made some deals and they left. Then, about 100-ish and change years later, Rome came back. And Rome did not come back like easy or friendly, Rome came back with the full force of their northern army, and they took over Britain. All the tribes said, okay, fine, whatever. Huge battles, finally got the British tribes to surrender, and then they stayed there for a long time, till around 410 AD. So they came in 55, and then they were there basically until 410. So about 400 years, you had Roman Britain. Okay, so the Celts, they kind of fade, they go into the background. You know, have you ever seen the Pixar movie Brave? You know where she goes into the woods and there's that kind of witch lady? That's kind of where the Celts would have been, out in the woods, little scattered populations, but they were still there. We can talk about that later if you want to. Anyway, it's Roman Britain for 400 years. Then, near the end of this period, the world starts to go crazy. And this is all over the Roman Empire. All of these tribes, the Romans called them barbarians, but they were just European tribes, started to attack, mostly Northern Europe, like in Germany and Scandinavia. They started to attack Rome. I mean, you've got people coming in from like Turkey and Southwest Asia coming into Rome. You've got Germanic tribes coming down on the northern parts of the Roman Empire. You've got then the ones that concern us. You've got these Anglo-Saxon tribes coming in and attacking Roman Britain. And this is happening all over the Roman Empire. So Rome in 410 leaves. They leave Britain. Now the reason they leave is because Rome is also being attacked, right? Everywhere in Rome is being attacked. So this is the end of the world. For Rome, this is the end of the world. Rome has been the entire civilized world, and then here in the 5th century, they just start getting completely obliterated by all these tribes. So 410, the Romans leave. Now, all these Anglo-Saxon tribes that have been invading for 50, 60 years, they start to settle. So you have Jutes from some place called Jutland. Let me be really honest with you. I don't know where Jutland is. It's in Europe. It's in Northern Europe, whatever. Angles from Denmark, southern Denmark. So these are Danes. They come in. And then Saxons from Germany. So Angles, Saxons, Anglo-Saxons, right? Okay, so they come in and they take over England. It gets, there's lots of wars and stuff because they're fighty people. These are not like, hello, how are you doing? Would you like a cup of tea and some chips? No, they fight, like sword, 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 stab, 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 spear, 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 right? So they're fighting. They eventually kind of calm it down, divide England into 7 kingdoms. And that happens, somewhere around 550, 560 AD. Cool. Well, then this is the big moment. 597, St. Augustine, not St. Augustine. St. Augustine is in North Africa about, 300 years before this. This is St. Augustine, comes from Rome and brings Christianity to Britain. Because the Rome that was there was pagan. Because Rome doesn't get converted to Christianity until Constantine in like 350 somewhere. So Rome is now Christian. But Britain is still like fully pagan. Fully pagan. The Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, those are all pagan tribes. They worship various kinds of, sky, thunder, earth, water, gods. It's rough and ready. It's a different religion. It's very old, very much connected to the older world. So St. Augustine brings Christianity in 597, becomes Archbishop of Canterbury. So when we read Canterbury Tales in a few weeks, it's that Canterbury, 597. And so this changes everything. Christianity changes the whole outlook. It's a very different world. The Christian worldview is very different from the old Anglo-Saxon worldview. Then blah, 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 blah. Northumbria, Mercia, change, kingdom. And then it kind of gets really wacky because in 793, the world ends again and Vikings come. And it is literally, this is like end of the world level nightmare. I mean, they come in on these fast ships from the north and they pillage and they burn and they destroy. Now remember, Anglo-Saxon England at this time period is pretty Christian. The Vikings are not. The Vikings are fully pagan, so they come, they burn monasteries, they kill monks, they loot, they pillage. whatever. That goes on from like 793. In 886, King Alfred, Saxon king, finally defeats the Vikings, and then you kind of have this uneasy Saxon-Viking peace that lasts up until things get really crazy in 1066 when the Norman invasion occurs. But we'll talk about that at the beginning of the medieval period. So there's a lot of really fast history. Here's what you need to know. The world in the Anglo-Saxon period ends a couple times. The world ends when Rome leaves in 410. Then the world is then rebuilt in this Anglo-Saxon world, and then that world ends really hard in 793, and then changes again over the next couple hundred years before we get to the world ending again when the Normans come. So one of the things you're going to see in Anglo-Saxon literature is this sense of loss of what used to be here. They're very, very emotional about what used to be and what's now gone. You know, where is the horse and rider? Where are my friends? I am alone on this earth. There is nothing here for me. What was once great has now passed from the earth, and there is nothing left. This sense of loneliness, of exile, of loss, it just pervades everything that they do, because when they're writing in this period, they're looking back to a time when things were good, when they were powerful and they had control. The other thing that's really weird about Anglo-Saxon literature is that they're Christians generally writing about a pagan past. So they're like trying to like put Christian stuff on top of pagan stuff. Like Beowulf is definitely talking about like an old Norse hero story and definitely trying to make it Christian when the people that they're talking about were 1000% not Christian. But you do get lots of Christian poetry in this period. We're going to read one called The Dream of the Rood, Rood meaning cross, which is a very Christian poem, very early, written probably by a monk somewhere. The Wanderer also has a lot of Christian imagery in it, as does Beowulf. But that's kind of a lot. But, you know, this is a rough world. The Anglo-Saxon world is rough. There's lots of fighting. There's lots of danger. There's not a lot of stability, and there's definitely a sense that there was once, but everything has been changing so much. The world changes when Rome leaves. The world changes when we leave our homeland to go to England. The world changes when Christianity comes, and it's constantly changing. But the poetry, I think, is really beautiful because it's really trying to capture some sort of order in a world that feels really chaotic. And you say, well, Fred, okay, cool. What do Anglo-Saxons care about? Well, one thing they care about is being loyal to their Lord. And this is not necessarily Lord like God in some Christian sense, but like Lord like your ruler. Like you are bound to him and you serve him. And the loyalty to your Lord is like the highest value. You fight for him, you die for him, you serve him honorably, and you never ever betray him. And this is like the core principle of Anglo-Saxon culture. And it's very bro-y. Like it's really like bros, like super like, yeah, man, I got in a fight, man, with this other dude, and I wrecked him, man. I wrecked him. Do you hear that? And then then the Lord is like, I am so proud of you for wrecking your other bro. Here is a ring, bro. And they have like these rings that they wear that show their loyalty and their service to their Lord. But this is the core, this loyalty, this service, because you got to protect who you know. You got to protect your people, because out there, in the world beyond your hall, in the world beyond your village, there's no safety. There's no law. Remember, Rome is gone, bro. Rome is gone. Rome imposed order. When Rome leaves, there is no order. It is the wilds out there. And anything can happen to you, and what are you going to do? Call the cops? There's no cops. You're either going to fight them, or you're going to get killed. Now, that's why you stay with your homies. That's why you stay with your Lord and your fellow other guys that fight him, because then together you can be safe. So that's what it is. You stick together with the people that you know and trust. You stay loyal to them. You fight hard. You stay strong. You be brave, and you live. That's your world. Okay? There's not a lot of like time to like have feelings. Like you kind of are like, man, used to be great, but now everything is like falling apart and there's nothing and I don't know what to do anymore. But mostly you don't have time to feel, right? You have time to fight. Surprisingly, though, we still have this poetry. Surprisingly so, they made lots of beautiful artwork. Like, although, yeah, it's mostly weapons and armor, but it's still really beautiful. And the manuscripts that the monks made, they wrote very nicely. So that's it. It's a tough world. I kind of see it like as the early 2000s, like it's really like emo and then monster fighting. Like that's pretty much what you've got. It's like we're really emotional and we're really sad, and then we're going to go just beat monsters to death. And that's pretty much what we do, is we fight and we feel, I guess. So I guess I connect with that, so I like them. Yeah, so that's it. That was, this has gone on a little bit too long. Yeah, I just want you to have some feel. We can talk about this. You can ask me questions, but this is the vibe. Okay, the Romans leave. This is before the Normans come. This is that world. One little thing before we leave that I have to say. We still have, in English, lots of Anglo-Saxon words. When you listen to that reading of The Wanderer, you're going to be like, that don't sound like English to me. But if you really listen, lots of our strong one-syllable words come straight up from Anglo-Saxon. One of our most used words, the Anglo-Saxon. It, the Anglo-Saxon. Sword, hit, war, lord, that word itself. These come straight from Anglo-Saxon straight into English. So it's kind of interesting to see that the words that made it to us are words that in many ways really represent some core principles of Anglo-Saxon. So remember, if you're going to be a good Anglo-Saxon, fight hard and stay loyal. And we'll see how that works. So hopefully this has illuminated some things for you. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly. I have a lot to say, and I'm going to say it. But that's going to be the history. That's where we are right now. So we'll see you soon. Be sure to watch out for monsters. Keep your sword close. Keep your friends closer. And have a great day.